All right, guys, now we're going to do something very dramatic. We're going to do kind of a dramatic fashion kind of look. We're going to use a couple of different lighting setups. We're going to basically start with just one light, but there's another star to this show. It's a high-powered fan. Now, I'm going to show you the fan that we're going to use on the set here. It's this one right here. Now, you do not have to use this fan. You can get any fan. You can go to Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever your local hardware store is and buy a fan. No problem. It'll work great. This fan, however, is a super high-powered fan. Do not buy this fan, because this fan, and you're going to think I'm lying when I say this, but go check it out, is around $1,200. So why did we buy a $1,200 fan? We didn't. We rented it for 45 bucks. But you don't have to have a fan as powerful as what we have here. What we're going to do is we're going to have our subject use like a big red scarf that we actually got to cut at a local fabric store. It's just a big 4-foot by 4-foot square. We really wanted to move the lights, move the scarf. So we thought, well, let's rent a fan. We didn't realize it was going to be this mega uber fan. So step one, you're going to need a fan. Step two, you're going to need a light. So here's the light we're using. We're just using one single strobe. It doesn't really matter the brand, right? We're using a nice big large softbox, a 53-inch softbox, because I want to be able to also, besides the size makes the subject very soft, I need to be able to cover a lot of the subject because I need to be able to see the scarf blowing. Now, I asked the subject to dress in all white. We have kind of a dark concrete background behind us. The subject's in all white, and she's using a red scarf. So it's a very, very simple lighting setup at this point. We're going to add a little bit to it. But to get just the dramatic look, we're going to do just one light, just this one light. So there are a couple lights in the background. They're not turned on yet. They will be in a minute. So we're going to go ahead and start. Let's go ahead and bring Stevie's going to help us in with this. And Stevie's in all white today. Thank you, Stevie. And so here's the scarf. Can you kind of hold it up so they can kind of see? It's just a big square soft. We went to the fabric store and just said, can you cut us a big red square? And they were all too happy to cut a big red square. And it wasn't very much. How much was it, Brad? 15 bucks, something like that. Okay. So now what we're going to do is this fan, Brad is going to drive the fan. By the way, the fan actually revs. It goes vroom, 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 and we have not been able to get Brad off this fan today. It's like his own personal toy. So it was worth the 45 bucks just to see Brad this happy. All right. So that's all we're doing. It's simple. One light shoot. We're triggering it off the camera with a little wireless, and we're just using this fan is really what's going to make this shoot go. So go ahead and hit the fan, Brad. And are you going to rev it for us just for fun? Yeah. All right. You have to let Brad rev it here. Ready? Here we go. There we go. All right. Let's take a few shots. There we go. Nice. All right, Brad. All right, let's take a look at what we got there. This is great. Now, Brad is having to kind of drive the fan a little bit. He's kind of having to aim it and kind of work it and turn it up and down to really make sure that the thing keeps going. But this is just a simple shoot. As far as the settings on the camera go, I'm at 1/100th of a second, and it must have... When I'm on manual mode and you're picking the camera up and down, it's easy to change it. So I would normally be at 1/125th of a second, but honestly, it's not going to make a whole lot of difference. The one thing that would change is if I lowered the shutter speed a little bit, I could see more of the concrete. So if I went down to maybe 1/60th of a second, I'll be able to lower see a little more ambient light. Let me take one shot at 1/160th and see how that changes. You don't have to really put the fan on or anything. Let me just see. Yeah, we're actually seeing a lot more ambient light there. And by ambient light, I mean we're actually kind of seeing the concrete behind her. So actually it doesn't look bad. You have to be careful when you start going with a little bit slower shutter speeds, although the flash should freeze the motion. If it doesn't, you get a little bit of a ghosting. But I think at 1/60th second, we'll still be okay. So my f-stop is at f8. So it's not, we're not putting out a whole lot of power. Let me look at the setting on the camera. So this is set at a setting of 2.3. So if I want it to be a little brighter, I'll just pump it up a little. Let me take one more test shot. We don't have to turn the fan yet. Let me just give it a shot and just kind of evaluate the lighting. You know, it's a little dark. I'm actually going to go to f7.1 and just see if this is a little better. Perfect. All right, I'm very, very happy. Again, it's these little tweaks. Just take a test shot, look, and take a test shot. You're not going to be moving the shutter speed, so you're basically going to be either moving the f-stop or just raising and lowering the power of the strobe. All right, let's take another shot. While we've got this, Brad, hit the fan. And we'll give it a second to ramp up. All right, here we go. Nice, there we go. You shoot some verticals here. Great, very nice. Nice. All right, Brado. All right, I got to tell you, Brad is working that fan like magic. Anyway, so now we've kind of got this shot. Let me just take a couple quick looks here and see what we've got. The lighting looks good. The whole thing looks a little bit brighter than it did before. It's not quite as dramatic because we've raised the, we've put a little more light in there, and we've slowed up the shutter speed just a little bit so we can see a little bit more of the concrete in the background. Now we're going to take this up a notch. We're going to add 2 lights. Now we used 2 grids earlier, so if you go back and watch the first shot that we did using Jared, the football player, he was, and you wouldn't know he's a football player, I didn't tell you that, but he's a football player. Wearing a black shirt, and we did really edge lighting on him. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the same 2 lights that we had on Jared earlier. They have a grid spot in them, so it's a reflector with a grid spot, and we're going to aim those directly at Stevie. Now, I might have a problem here that I didn't have with Jared's. With Jared's, I had those kind of aiming to where they were at such an angle that I didn't have to worry about lens flare too much coming back in the camera. Here, I might have to worry about it. Now, the reason why, so why can I just angle them like I had for Jared? Because I need to be able to shoot a lot wider than I'm shooting with her. So let me get back here and see. I can see both lights really clearly, and I'm afraid we're going to wind up with, yeah, I can actually see lens flare coming in from the left and right side of the camera. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and bring these little flags in on either side, and that way I'm going to have to shoot in between them. So that way I don't get lens flare. So it's going to limit me a little bit, but at least I'm not going to get a big lens flare. Let me see if I can, this one has to come over a little bit more. It leaves me just a little spot to shoot through here, and then let's see how this looks. Yeah, well that's it. I don't know where the camera is. Hey, there you are. My lens flare problems. Where is the camera? The lens flare problems are gone. It's time to turn on the fan. Brad, man the fan. All right, Brad. All right, let's quickly evaluate the shot. So I kind of left the same setting that we used earlier when we were shooting Jared, so I haven't really changed anything. So let's just see, is that a mess or is it okay? Actually, it looks okay. This is a totally different light. It went from kind of a dark, moody thing to kind of a punchy, bright light. She's wearing all white, and now you've got this great light skimming her. Now, I like the way all of these look. Some of these, actually, there's a little bit of a hot spot on the what you call it itself, the fabric. Thank you, Brad. I'm looking at the shots and not thinking. There's a little bit of hot spots on the fabric. They're just minor enough I can probably deal with them in Photoshop, but I might be able to just adjust the exposure a little too and fix that. But overall, these are pretty good. All right, at this point, all I'm going to do is just make sure that the bounce is okay. There's not much I can do. With Jared, remember, there was nothing behind him. There was nothing at all there, so I had the clean shot on her. Well, she's moving, the fan's moving her hair, the light's changing a little bit in each one, but it's okay. This is, you know, it's when it looks right, it looks right, and that's why you shoot more than one. I'd hate to walk up, take one shot. You know, that's the great thing about digital. We'll take as many shots as we need to get the shot, and let's finish off with just a couple more. Ready for one more round of the giant superpower fan? By the way, don't forget, you do not have to buy this fan. Don't buy this fan. We don't. This is the first time we've ever used this fan. We use like a $45 fan. We rented this one for $40. We bought one for $45 or something. So it's good. Very good. Nice. These look great. Here we go. Let's go really wide. Great, thank you, Stevie. All right, one last thing. You know what else works great about this? Especially if you have, now, Stevie's a professional model. She does this for a living. But for people that aren't professionals, you know what makes people feel really comfortable is to have something, have some kind of prop. You give them a prop, they feel like they have something to do. So it's also a nice trick if you're just starting with this, is to be able to give somebody, hand them a prop, hand them something to do with their hands, and they'll become much, much more comfortable. Now, luckily, you know, with her, it wasn't a problem. But again, starting with somebody new, give them something to hold, and you'll watch how the whole shoot transforms. All right, it's an easier setup than you thought. Remember, we started with just one light. We had a couple in the background, and it's really just, at this point, just a matter of really now just focusing in and working with your subject.